The armor had been floating in the ruins of an ancient battlefield for thousands of years. Broken ships, shattered metal, and the silent remains of alien warriors surrounded it. But the armor remained untouched, glowing faintly with a strange blue light as if it was alive. Many races had found it over the centuries, and every one of them had tried to claim it. The armor was legendary, a relic said to hold power beyond imagination, a weapon that could make the wearer almost a god. But whenever they tried to wear it, the armor rejected them. It crushed their bodies, shattered their bones, or simply melted them into dust, as if saying, "You are not worthy." And so it became a myth, something spoken of in whispers across the stars. Alien leaders sent fleets to search for it, scholars studied. Every story and treasure hunters killed for a chance to be the one who could hold it. Yet all failed. The armor waited in silence, floating in darkness, as if waiting for something. Or someone. When humans first heard about it, they thought it was only a story told by aliens to scare each other. Humanity was still young in the galactic stage, barely a century into space exploration, compared to civilizations that had thrived for millions of years. Humans were considered weak, reckless, and unprepared. To the older races, they were like children who had wandered into a war too big for them. No one believed that humans could ever stand among the stars as equals. But one man, a salvage pilot named Daniel Cross, didn't care about what aliens thought. He was not a soldier or a leader, not even a scientist. He was just someone who flew. His small ship in directs, collecting scrap and selling it for enough credits to keep moving. He was stubborn, a little desperate, and always looking for something that could change his luck. When he first heard rumors of the armor being found again, floating in the graveyard of the Xeran Wars, he didn't laugh like others did. Instead, he felt something inside him whispered that he should go. He didn't know why, but he followed. The feeling. Daniel's ship, a rusted freighter named Iron Dream, drifted into the dark wreckage of a battlefield that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Dead hulks of alien cruisers floated in silence, their once bright weapons now frozen forever. The place felt haunted, like the ghosts of 1,000 soldiers were watching from the shadows. His hands tightened on the controls, his breathing heavy. Inside his helmet, every pilot who came here spoke of the same thing, an invisible weight, a fear that made even the strongest warriors turn back. But Daniel kept going, pushing deeper into the wrecks. Then he saw it. The armor floated in the center of the graveyard, glowing softly, pieces of its metal shifting as if it were breathing. It was not like human armor, not just plates and circuits. It looked alive, its surface covered in patterns that moved like veins, pulsing faintly with light. The moment Daniel laid eyes on it, his heart began to race. He felt heat in his chest. As if the armor was calling to him, pulling him closer, he landed his ship nearby, his boots clanging against the metal hull of a shattered alien cruiser as he stepped out. The silence around him was crushing, and every step echoed like thunder in his ears. He knew the stories. He knew what had happened to every alien who tried. His mind screamed at him to stop, to turn back before it was too late. But his body moved forward anyway, drawn to the glowing shape that hung in the void. When Daniel reached out his hand, the armor shifted. It opened like a living thing, its chest plate unfolding, its pieces floating apart as if welcoming him. Had tried before, was rejected instantly, torn apart before they could even touch it. But with Daniel, the armor hesitated. It's almost waiting. His hand brushed the cold surface and the world exploded with light. Daniel's vision was filled with endless stars, strange symbols and voices that echoed from 1,000 years ago. He felt pain, then fire, then power rushing through his veins. His body shook, but he did not let go. The armor wrapped around him piece by piece, locking into place as if it had always been made for him. And then silence. Daniel stood in the middle of the graveyard. He's no longer wearing his old cracked suit, but covered head to toe in the legendary armor. Its blue light glowed brighter than ever, spreading across the battlefield like a beacon. For the first time in thousands of years, the armor had chosen, and it had chosen a human. Somewhere in the darkness, hidden ships turned on their sensors. Across the galaxy, ancient watchers felt the sudden awakening. The balance of power, that had lasted for ages, began to shift. All because one ordinary man had put on what no alien could ever claim. Daniel did not know yet what he had just done. But every race in the galaxy would soon learn. The armor had rejected them all until humanity came. Daniel stood frozen, his breathing sharp inside the strange, living helmet that now covered his face. The armor felt heavy and light at the same time, like carrying a mountain and floating in the sky together. His muscles trembled as energy pulsed through him. But strangely, the pain faded quickly, replaced by a deep strength he had never known before. His vision sharpened. He could see details on the wrecked ships kilometers away, cracks on metal that normal eyes would never notice. He raised his hand and the armor responded instantly, glowing brighter as if it had always been part of him. Inside his mind, he heard whispers, not words exactly, but feelings, warnings, memories, fragments of something ancient. Images flashed before his eyes, alien warriors wearing the armor long ago. Great battles fought on worlds he had never seen, and then the endless rejections, the deaths of those who were unworthy. Yet now it accepted him, wrapping him in its will. Daniel staggered, trying to breathe, trying to understand what had happened. Far away in the graveyard's shadows, other ships moved closer. Pirates, scavengers, and mercenaries had been watching. They'd seen the light, the impossible, the moment when the armor bonded. There comes burst with shocked voices, all repeating the same words. The human has it. The human wears the armor. To them, it was unthinkable. For thousands of years, the greatest empires had tried and failed, their champions destroyed in moments. Now some unknown scavenger from Earth stood alive in it, glowing like a god in the void. One ship, a jagged vessel painted with blood marks, broke away from the others. Its captain, a reptilian alien named Vorok, snarled at his crew. He had hunted for the armor for decades, sacrificing everything to claim it, and he refused to believe it would belong to a human. "Open fire," he growled. "We will tear it from his corpse." Daniel's helmet flashed a warning before he even understood. The armor showed him paths of energy, highlighted danger zones. And before the pirate ship's cannons fired, Daniel was already moving. He leaped with impossible speed, his boots striking the hull of a ruined cruiser, and the guns that fired should have killed him in seconds. But the armor flared with blue shields, absorbing the blasts like raindrops hitting stone. His heart pounded. He was alive. He was faster, stronger beyond anything he had ever felt. The pirate ship circled, charging its weapons again. Daniel raised his hand without thinking, and the armor responded. A beam of pure light erupted from his arm, slamming into the enemy vessel. Metal tore apart, explosions rippled across its surface, and the great ship split into burning fragments. The silence of space was broken only by Daniel's heavy breathing as he stared at his own hands. Realizing what he had just done, more ships approached, hesitant now, but still hungry. They knew what the armor meant. Whoever controlled it would rise above all others. Empires would bow, fleets would kneel, and power would be theirs. They did not care if it was a human who wore it. They wanted it, and they would kill him to take it. But the armor whispered again, guiding him. Daniel moved across the wrecks with speed and grace he had never known. Dodging blasts, striking back with power that burned through alien metal like paper. He was not a soldier, he was not trained, but the armor fought with him, as if teaching him, showing him the way. Every strike, every leap, every shield was perfect, as if the armor remembered all the battles it had once fought and now lent him its memory. Still, Daniel felt fear. He did not understand this power. He did not know why it had chosen him, and he knew the whole galaxy would now come for him. He was no hero, no chosen one, just a man who had stumbled into something far greater than himself. But the armor did not care about his doubts. It had chosen. After destroying the third pirate ship, Daniel finally found a moment of silence. The remaining scavengers fled, their engines burning as they escaped, carrying tales of what they had witnessed. Daniel stood in the wreckage, glowing in the armor, and he knew it was only the beginning. The galaxy would know soon. He could already imagine the whispers spreading the armor lives again. The armor chose a human inside his mind. The whispers grew louder, forming words at last. A single sentence echoed deep within his skull, carried by the armor's ancient voice. You are the last chance. You are the final bearer. Prepare. Daniel's blood turned cold. He looked out across the battlefield into the endless stars, and for the first time in his life, he felt the weight of destiny pressing against him. Whatever the armor was, it had not been waiting for an empire or a king. It had been waiting for him. And now, the whole galaxy was coming. News of the armor spread faster than light itself, across the galaxy. In every corner where ships traveled and merchants whispered, the story was told again and again, always with shock in their voices. The armor, the relic that had killed every alien who dared to wear it, had finally chosen a Baran. It had chosen a human. Entire councils of ancient races fell into panic. Generals woke from their sleep, and prophets declared that the end of balance had begun. To the mighty empires, it was unthinkable, almost insulting that such power belonged to a species so young and small. Humanity, a race that had barely left its home star system only a century ago, was now the center of everything on Earth. Officials in the United Terran Command received the first reports with disbelief. At first, they thought it was just another wild story from deep space, a rumor made up by scavengers who wanted attention. But when dozens of alien transmissions repeated the same message, when video footage showed Daniel standing in the glowing armor while pirate ships burned around him, they realized the truth. Suddenly, every human leader understood that their place in the galaxy had changed forever. They had been ignored, underestimated, dismissed as children, but now every eye, friend and enemy alike, would turn to them. Daniel, meanwhile, was lost inside the storm. His small freighter drifted away from the graveyard, the armor still wrapped around him, glowing with an energy he could not control. He sat in the cockpit, staring at his reflection in the dark glass, his heart heavy. He did not feel like a savior or a warrior. He felt like a man who had stepped into a fire too big to escape. His hands shook as he touched the metal plates on his chest, trying to pull them away, but the armor refused to let go. It clung to him as if it were alive, as if it had fused with his very skin. When he closed his eyes, he saw more visions. Armor showed him worlds burning, fleets clashing in endless war, and beings of power greater than anything humanity had ever known. He saw the armor itself being passed down from one warrior to another long ago, each time carrying the burden of survival, each time holding back a shadow that threatened to swallow the stars. And then, suddenly, all the images stopped, leaving only one message inside his mind. You must be ready. Daniel pressed his palms against his head, groaning. Ready for what? He whispered into the silence of his ship. But the armor did not answer. Outside, more ships had begun to follow him. Some were scouts from alien governments, keeping their distance but recording everything. Others were hunters, mercenaries, who saw him as a prize. He could feel their eyes, their sensors locked on him, waiting for a chance to strike. The armor hummed, alerting him, and he knew the peace he had now would not last long. On the capital, world of the Valerie Dominion, one of the oldest and most powerful empires, the High Chancellor stood before his council. His long silver scales shimmered under the lights as he slammed his claws against the table. "I cannot allow this," he hissed. "If the armor belongs to the humans, the balance of power will collapse. A child race must not hold the weapon of gods." The council agreed, their voices filled with fear and anger. Already, fleets were being prepared. Spies were sent to track Daniel's every move. The Valeri swore they would either take the armor from him or destroy him with it, but not all races felt the same. On the hidden world of the Ketheri, a species of thinkers and prophets, a gathering of elders, looked into the stars. Their leader, an ancient being with eyes like burning suns, whispered softly, "The choice has been made. The armor rejects those who seek power. It chooses those who need strength, not those who desire it. Humanity's time has come. It would not interfere, but they would watch closely, waiting to see if the human could carry the burden back." On Daniel's ship, exhaustion finally took him. Slumped in his chair, his eyes closing, but the armor would not allow him to rest easily. His dreams became visions again, more clear than before. This time he saw something different. A shadow, vast and endless, moving at the edge of the galaxy. A swarm, millions of ships, a hunger that consumed entire worlds. The armor pulsed against his chest, showing him the same vision over and over until he woke with a gasp, sweat dripping. Down his face, Daniel stared into the darkness outside his ship. He understood now, at least in part, why the armor had chosen him. The galaxy thought the danger was about who wore it, but the truth was much larger. Something was coming, something far worse than empires fighting each other. The armor had chosen him because he would face it. He was not a king, not a soldier, not even special in his own eyes, but he was human. Maybe that was the reason. And far away beyond known space, the shadow he had seen in his vision began to move for real. Ancient sensors lit up, forgotten. Outposts screamed warnings, and silent worlds turned dark one by one. The storm was rising. The galaxy would soon learn the truth that the armor had not chosen a human to rule, but to survive what was coming. Daniel did not know it yet. But the first war was about to begin. The stars around Daniel's ship grew brighter as more vessels arrived, their long shadows stretching across the void. At first, they kept their distance, silent watchers who only recorded. Soon their numbers grew too large, and silence turned into a trap. Daniel knew it before the armor even warned him. A fleet was surrounding him. His small freighter, the Iron Dream, shook as enemy signals locked on from every direction. Dozens of ship scouts, frigates, cruisers were moving in a slow circle. Around him, like predators closing on prey. On his display, their symbols glowed red, each tagged with the insignia of the Valeri Dominion. He remembered the stories he had heard of them. An empire that had conquered worlds before humanity even learned to fly. A race that thought itself eternal. And now they wanted him. A message crackled through his cums, cold and sharp. Human. Pilot, this is Commander Shrivel of the Valeri Dominion. You are in possession of an object that does not belong to you. Surrender the armor, and your death will be swift. Resist, and you will suffer. Daniel gripped the controls, his knuckles white. He wanted to laugh, but his throat was too dry. I don't even know how to take this thing off, he whispered to himself, his voice shaking. He felt the armor hum softly, as if answering. A faint pulse of energy spread across his body, and new symbols appeared on his screen, glowing blue, guiding him like a teacher, showing a child how to move. The armor was not just protecting him, it was showing him how to fight. The first Valeri cruiser fired. A massive lance of energy that would have torn his freighter apart in seconds. But the armor reacted before Daniel could think.
Ow.
Blue light flared across the hull, wrapping the old ship in a shield stronger than anything humans had ever built. The blast struck, shaking the ship violently, but Daniel was still alive. The armor whispered again, urging him to act, to move, to strike. Daniel's hands moved almost on their own, pressing controls, shifting power. The armor connected with the ship, fusing man and machine. He no longer felt like a pilot flying an old freighter. He felt like the armor itself, using the ship as an extension of his body. The Iron Dream surged forward with impossible speed, weaving through enemy fire, its engines burning brighter than they ever had before. Valeri's ships tried to cut him off, but Daniel moved too quickly, dodging, turning, slipping through gaps that no normal pilot would have seen. His fear was still there, pounding in his chest. But beneath it was something new instinct, confidence, almost a memory that was not his own. He realized the armor was giving him more than power. It was giving him skill, the experience of countless warriors who had worn it before him. He raised his hand, and the freighter's forward cannons glowed with unnatural blue light powered far beyond their design. When he fired, the blast tore through a Valeri frigate in one shot, splitting it apart like paper. The other ships pulled back in shock. It expected an easy kill, a scavenger in a broken freighter. Instead, they were facing something alive, something ancient, something they could not understand. But the Valeri were not easily frightened. Their commander snarled orders, and the fleet reformed, dozens of ships moving together in a perfect wall of fire. Energy lances, missiles, and plasma blasts rained down in a storm that no human ship should have survived. Daniel screamed as he pulled the freighter into a dive, the armor blazing around him, shields flickering as they took the endless punishment. He was only one man in one ship, but the armor made him more, and he fought like a storm in the night. One by one, enemy ships exploded, their wreckage spinning away into the void. Daniel's body ached, his mind burned from the strain, but he kept moving, kept fighting. He had no choice. If he stopped, he would die, and the armor would fall into their hands. He could not allow that, not because he wanted to be a hero, but because deep inside he understood that the armor was not meant for them. It had chosen him for a reason, and even if he did not know the reason yet, he could not fail it now. At last, after what felt like hours, the Valeri fleet began to retreat. Smoke and fire trailed from their damaged ships, their formation broken, their pride shattered. The commander's voice came again over the comms, full of fury and disbelief. "This is not over, human. You will not keep what is ours. The galaxy will see you burn." Then silence as the surviving ships slipped into jump space, leaving only debris behind. Daniel slumped in his chair, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. His ship was cracked and battered, alarms blaring, but somehow, impossibly, he was still alive. The armor dimmed slightly, as if resting with him, but Daniel knew this was only the beginning. He had just fought one fleet, and already he felt the eyes of many others turning toward him. The Valeri would come again, stronger than before, and other empires would not sit quietly either. He looked down at his glowing hands and whispered, "Why me?" The armor gave no answer, only a faint hum that echoed through his bones. But in his mind, the vision of the shadow returned, the endless swarm spreading across the stars. And he understood the truth once again. The battles with empires were only distractions. The real enemy was still out there, moving closer. And when it arrived, the armor would need him ready. Daniel's ship drifted through the quiet of deep space, its hull scarred and smoking from the battle. He had survived the Valeri fleet, but survival felt like a thin thread ready to snap at any moment. The armor was silent now, its glow softer, almost resting, yet Daniel could still feel its presence inside him like a second heartbeat. He stared at the stars stretching endlessly before him, and for the first time, he wondered if there was anywhere left to run. The galaxy knew. The whispers had spread faster than any ship could travel. In trading posts on distant moons, in the markets of giant space stations, in the secret halls of governments. The story was the same. The armor lives again, and it has chosen a human. Every empire wanted him now. Some wanted to study him, others wanted to destroy him, and many simply wanted the armor for themselves. Daniel was no longer just a scavenger. He had become the most hunted man alive. The Iron Dream shook as he pushed. It threw another jump. The ship was old, its systems struggling, but the armor seemed to help even here, keeping the engines stable. Guiding him through dangerous currents of space, he followed no map, no chart. He trusted the armor's whispers, the faint pull inside his chest that told him where to go. It was leading him somewhere, though he did not yet know why. But not every voice in the stars was hostile. Among the chaos, humanity finally began to rise. On Earth, the United Terran Command gathered in secret, their generals and diplomats watching. The footage again and again, lone pilot wrapped in the armor, defeating fleets that had ruled space for centuries. Some feared what he had awakened, but others saw opportunity. For the first time, humanity had something the galaxy could not ignore. They sent out signals, searching for Daniel, calling him home, promising him protection, but the galaxy was wide and Daniel was lost within it, hunted from all sides. His journey took him to the shadow ports, the hidden places where smugglers and outcasts lived. He hoped to repair his ship, to breathe for just a moment, but even there he was not safe. Bounty hunters tracked him, their ships fast and sharp, their weapons hungry for his blood. One night on the broken deck of a derelict station, he faced them. They came with chains and guns, laughing at the idea that a human could resist. But the armor woke again, its blue fire burning through the dark, and Daniel fought like a storm. He did not kill them all, but the survivors fled screaming, and the station itself whispered of what it had seen. Everywhere he went, the legend followed, growing larger, heavier. Yet not all who came were enemies. On one cold world at the edge of space, he met them, the Cathari, the prophets who had seen the future. They did not come with weapons, but with silence and calm. Their leader, a being with eyes like burning suns, spoke softly to him. "The armor has chosen you, human. We have waited for this moment. The shadow comes, and only with the bearer can the stars endure." Daniel wanted answers, demanded them, but they gave him little, spoke only of trials ahead, of enemies yet unseen, of choices that would decide the fate of all. Then they left, fading into the mist, leaving him with more questions than before, alone again. Daniel returned to his ship, his mind heavy. The armor pulsed faintly, as if agreeing with the prophets. He knew now that what was coming was larger than empires, larger than wars for power. The shadow he had seen in his visions was real, moving closer each day. But the galaxy did not believe. They were too blinded by their hunger, too desperate to seize what he carried, too busy fighting each other to see the storm rising beyond the edge of stars. Days turned into weeks as Daniel traveled, hunted always, never resting for long. He fought pirates, escaped fleets, and slipped past traps. Each battle left him stronger, each moment bound him deeper to the armor, yet also more afraid of what he was becoming. Sometimes in the silence, he felt the armor's will more strongly, guiding him, pushing him, as if shaping him into something he was not sure he wanted to be. Then came the message. A transmission, faint but clear, from humanity itself. A voice he had not heard in years. A commander from Earth who had once dismissed him as just another reckless pilot. "Daniel Cross," the voice said, heavy with urgency. "We know you are out there. The galaxy hunts you, but you are not alone. Come home. Humanity needs you." Daniel closed his eyes, torn. Home. The word pulled at him, filled him with memories of Earth, of skies not filled with war. But he also knew what would happen if he went back. He would not be safe there. He would bring the war to his own people, to the ones who were not ready. Still, the message burned in his mind. Humanity was calling, and maybe, just maybe, he needed them as much as they needed him. He set his course, uncertain and afraid, but moving forward anyway. Behind him, fleets burned. Ahead of him, the storm gathered. And around him always, the armor pulsed with a light that refused to die. The galaxy had made him a fugitive. Soon, it would make him something far more. The journey back to human space was not easy. Daniel's ship limped across the void, its hull patched again and again with the armor's strange blue metal that seemed to grow like living steel. Every system creaked, every jump felt like it might tear the freighter apart. But Daniel kept going, following the signal that called him home. He had avoided countless hunters, slipped through traps, fought off more enemies than he could remember. But as he neared the border of Terran space, deeper fear began to rise in his chest. He could already feel the presence of fleets waiting. For him, the armor whispered warnings long before his sensors caught the faint signatures of ships hidden in the darkness. Dozens, maybe hundreds, surrounding the approach lanes to Earth. The galaxy knew where he would go, and they were ready. The comes lit up with a signal, sharp and cold. It was the Valeri again, their silver-scaled commander speaking with fury. "Human, your journey ends here. Surrender the armor, and perhaps your people will be spared. Refuse, and we will burn your world until nothing remains." Daniel's throat tightened. He could picture Earth, his home, blue oceans and green forests, places untouched by the wars of the stars. The Valeri threat was not empty. He had seen what they had done to other worlds, how entire cities were turned to ash when they resisted. He knew he could not lead them to Earth, not like this, not with fleets waiting to follow. The armor pulsed, showing him visions again, guiding him. He saw paths, hidden routes through asteroid fields and collapsed star remnants, dangerous passages that no normal ship would dare attempt. It was risky, almost suicidal, but it was the only way to slip past the blockade without bringing fire. To his people, Daniel tightened his grip on the controls, sweat running down his face. "All right," he whispered. "Show me the way." The Iron Dream dove into the shadows, its engines screaming, the armor weaving its shields to protect against debris that should have torn the freighter apart. Jagged rocks spun past, collapsing gravity wells pulled at the hull, but somehow Daniel moved through them, guided by the armor's strange sense of direction. Behind him, Valeri's ships tried to follow, but one by one they broke apart, crushed by the chaos of the passage. Daniel pushed harder, every muscle in his body shaking, his vision blurring as the ship barely held together. When he finally emerged, his freighter, burning but alive, he gasped in relief. The blockade was behind him. Ahead lay the edge of Terran. Space. For the first time in weeks, he saw the faint glow of human beacons, signals that marked safety. It made it. But safety was an illusion. As soon as his ship crossed the border, new contacts appeared on his screen's massive shapes, warships larger than anything Earth had ever built. They did not belong to the Valeri. They were from another empire, the Dravari, a race of warlords known for their brutality. They had come not to fight him yet, but to wait, to block his path, to test his strength. Their leader appeared on his coms, a towering figure with dark armor and eyes like burning coals. "You men," he said with a cruel smile, "you wear the relic. The galaxy shakes because of you. We are not here to destroy you, not yet. We are here to watch, to see if you are truly worthy. Prove yourself or die." Daniel stared, his heart pounding. The Dravari did not attack immediately. Instead, their ships spread out, forming a wall, daring him to try and pass. They wanted to measure him, to see what the armor could do, to test the human who had become. Legend. He felt the armor hum with tension, urging him forward, telling him that this was a trial he could not avoid. So Daniel fought again. His battered freighter lit up with blue fire, striking out with weapons powered beyond their limits. Moving with impossible speed, dodging attacks that should have ended him in seconds. The Dravari ships pressed him harder and harder, their firepower shaking him, but still he endured.
Hours passed in a blur of light and destruction, until at last the Dravari pulled back.
Their commander laughing darkly. "You may pass, human," the voice said. "You are not ready, but you may live."
How?
Then their fleet vanished into the dark, leaving Daniel shaken and exhausted. But still alive, the beacons of Earth grew brighter before him, his home calling. He knew now that he could not run forever. He could not hide. The galaxy would not let him. And behind it all, the shadow he had seen in his visions was still moving, closer with every day. Daniel whispered to himself, his voice heavy with fear and determination. "I have to face them. All of them, or Earth will burn." The armor pulsed in answer, glowing stronger than before, as if agreeing. The final battles were drawing near. The blue glow of Earth filled Daniel's screens as his ship drifted out of jump. For a moment, his breath caught in his chest. After all the silence of deep space, after all the battles and endless running, there it was, his home, alive and shining. Oceans glittered, clouds drifted across green continents, and for the first time since he had left, Daniel felt the pull of gravity in his heart, the ache of belonging. But peace did not last. Within minutes, Terran warships surrounded him, sleek gray vessels bristling with weapons, their captains cautious and afraid. Humanity had grown since it first stepped into the stars, but compared to the ancient fleets of the galaxy, these ships were still small, still fragile. Yet they came anyway, standing between Earth and whatever followed him. A voice filled his coms, sharp and familiar. "Daniel Cross. This is Admiral Kane of the United Terran Command. By order of Earth, you are to stand down and dock immediately. We will escort you." Daniel exhaled, his shoulders heavy with relief. At least he was not alone anymore. "Admiral," he said quietly, "you don't understand. They're coming. They'll be right behind me. If you don't prepare now, Earth will burn." The Admiral's voice was steady, but Daniel could hear the weight in it. "We know, we've seen the transmissions. The galaxy is in chaos because of you, but Earth is ready. You are not our prisoner, Daniel. You are our responsibility. Dock, and we will decide together what comes next. Well, Daniel obeyed, guiding his battered freighter toward the waiting hangars. As he landed, hundreds of soldiers and technicians stared in silence at the glowing figure stepping out of the ship. The armor shimmered with blue light, alive even in the air, and for a moment, every human in the bay held their breath. Some looked at him with fear, others with awe, but all knew the truth. Earth's future was now tied to this man. Inside the command halls, Daniel faced the leaders of humanity. Generals, scientists, and politicians filled the room, their eyes fixed on him. Questions poured in. What was the armor? Why did it choose him? What did it want? But Daniel had no answers. He only told them what he had seen, the visions of the shadow moving at the edge of the galaxy, the swarm that would devour all if left unchecked. His voice shook as he spoke, but his words carried weight because they came from the only man alive who had survived wearing the armor. The council argued. Some wanted to keep Daniel hidden, protected on Earth. Others wanted to use him as a weapon to strike first and claim power before the empires closed in. Daniel listened in silence, but the armor pulsed inside him, whispering softly. He felt its will again, steady and unyielding. It was not meant to hide. It was meant to stand. Then alarms shattered the room. Enemy signals had been detected. Fleets emerging from jump. Hundreds of ships, their banners glowing with the mark of the Valeri Dominion. Daniel felt his chest tighten. They had followed him. The first great battle was here. Terran fleets rushed to meet them, but their numbers were small, their weapons untested against the might of an empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Panic spread across Earth as the sky filled with alien fire. As orbital defenses blazed against ships that outnumbered them 10-1. Daniel stood on the deck, watching, feeling the armor blaze hotter, urging him to act. "Admiral," he said, his voice calm despite the fear inside him. "If I don't fight, Earth will fall. Let me go." The Admiral hesitated only a moment, before nodding. "Then fight, Daniel. Not just for Earth, for all of us." Daniel leaped into the void, the armor wrapping tighter, glowing like a star. He did not need the Iron Dream anymore. The armor itself carried him, wings of energy forming across his back, propelling him through space faster than any ship. The humans below gasped as they saw him rise, a lone figure blazing brighter than their fleets. The Valeri opened fire, but Daniel cut through their ships like lightning. His hands burned with power, beams of light tearing holes in cruisers, shields, flaring as enemy weapons struck him again and again. He felt every impact, his body shaking, but he did not fall. He moved through the battlefield like a storm, human wrapped in the armor of gods, refusing to surrender. Terran ships rallied around him, their crews shouting as they saw hope. For the first time, humanity fought as equals, their courage lifted. By the sight of one of their own standing against the impossible, the Valeri roared with fury, their commanders unable to believe what they were seeing. The armor had rejected them for millennia, and now it burned for a human, cutting their fleets apart. The battle raged for hours, fire streaking across the skies of Earth, debris raining down like falling stars. But Daniel endured, and slowly, impossibly, the Valeri broke. Their ships pulled back, retreating into jump. Their pride wounded deeper than their fleets. When silence returned, Earth still stood. Humanity had survived its first test. But Daniel knew the truth as he drifted above his world, his body heavy. With exhaustion, the armor still burning around him, this was only the beginning. More fleets would come, more battles would follow. And behind it all, the shadow was moving closer every day. The real war had not yet begun. The smoke of battle still drifted above Earth when the armor stirred again. Daniel floated in orbit, exhausted, his body shaking from the endless fight, but his mind filled with new visions. He saw the Valeri retreating, their pride broken, their leaders swearing revenge. He saw other empires gathering, preparing their fleets, waiting for their chance to strike. Yet beyond them all, darker than any empire, the shadow moved. It was here at the far edge of the system, Ancient sensors lit up with warnings. Massive shapes appeared from the void, too many to count, stretching across the stars like a wall of black steel. The swarm had come, ships without banners, without voices, moving like a single endless tide. They did not send messages, did not demand surrender. They simply advanced, devouring everything in their path. Panic spread across Earth. Terran fleets scrambled to form defenses. Soldiers raced to their posts. Civilians looked to the sky with fear. Humanity had barely survived one empire's attack. How could they face this? The council screamed in chaos, arguing whether to flee or fight, but Daniel did not need their words. The armor burned brighter than ever, whispering its will. This was the enemy it had been waiting for. This was why it had chosen him. Daniel stood on the command deck, his voice steady, though his heart pounded. If we run, we all die. If we hide, they will find us. The only way is to fight, not as scavengers, not as prey, fight as humans. Stand and do not break. His words echoed through every channel, spreading across the fleets, reaching pilots and soldiers who had never met him, but who had seen him blaze against impossible odds. They listened because in that moment, he was not just Daniel Cross. He was humanity's voice. The swarm came closer, and Earth prepared. Terran ships formed tight walls around their home, every weapon primed, every crew ready to die. But then something unexpected happened. More signals appeared, ships, not of Earth, but of other races. Small groups, scattered fleets, deserters from empires that had hunted Daniel, rebels who had seen him fight, prophets who believed the armor's choice meant hope. They came not as conquerors, but as allies, drawn to the human who wore the armor. Believing perhaps that this fight was larger than old grudges, the swarm struck like a storm. Thousands of black ships fell upon the defenders, tearing through their lines, breaking their shields. The sky burned with fire and debris, and screams filled the coms. Humanity fought desperately, their ships shaking but refusing to fall back. And at the heart of it, Daniel leapt into the void once more, the armor blazing so bright that even from Earth's surface, people looked up and saw a new star burning in the heavens. He moved like lightning, tearing through the swarm, his hands glowing with power that split ships apart. The armor poured its full strength into him, and he felt the weight of every warrior who had worn it before, their memories guiding his strikes. Pain lanced through his body, every nerve burning, but he did not stop. This was what the armor had waited for. This was why it had chosen him, not for power, not for glory, but for survival. The battle raged for hours. Fleets were shattered. Allies fell one by one, but still the humans held. The swarm pressed harder, endless, unstoppable, but Daniel refused to break. At last, when the lines threatened to collapse, the armor showed him one final vision core. Deep within the swarm, a single vast ship pulsing with dark energy, the mind that guided them all. If he could destroy it, the tide might break. If he failed, Earth would burn. Daniel pushed forward, every muscle screaming, his body breaking under the strain. Enemy fire ripped across him, tearing pieces of the armor away, but he kept going. He reached the heart of the swarm, the massive ship looming before him like a shadow over the sun. With his last strength, he raised his hands, the armor glowing with all its power, brighter than it had ever burned. A beam of pure light erupted, cutting through the darkness, striking the core. The great ship cracked, shattered, and for a moment, the entire swarm froze. Then, one by one, their ships fell silent, drifting dead in the void. The tide was broken, the shadow was defeated. Silence returned at last. The survivors looked out across the battlefield, their voices filled with disbelief. The swarm was gone. Earth still lived. Humanity had stood against the impossible and won. Daniel drifted among the wreckage, his body weak, the armor dim now, almost fading. He felt its voice one last time, soft and proud. The choice was right. Humanity is ready. Then the armor grew quiet, its glow fading into silence. On Earth below, people cheered, voices rising together across the world. For the first time, the galaxy would not look at humanity as children or prey. They would look at them as survivors, as warriors, as equals. Daniel Cross had proven what no alien could. The armor had rejected them all, but it had chosen a human. And together, they had saved the stars.